Welcome to CP101, and this is our first update on the big guy Freddy Krueger. The first thing I wanted to take care of, because it was really bugging me, was the stance. If you recall, in the intro video, this wouldn't even stand up on its own. And now it's perfect. And the reason why I was having issues with it was because apparently when they casted this part here and it cooled the vinyl, his legs must have come in a bit, shrank a bit. Well, what that did was it made him basically stand on the sides of his feet, which is why he wouldn't stand on his own. So what we needed to do is to correct that and get him standing, at least this foot here, on the bottom of his foot, not the sides. So what I do, there's three ways you can realign vinyl. You can either use a heat gun, you can use a hair dryer, or you can use hot water. I always use hot water. I just think it's much quicker and faster for me to use hot water and not damage the vinyl, because with a heat gun you have to be careful. If you get it too hot, you actually ruin some of the detailing. I don't want that to happen. So with me, I like using just plain old hot water. I have better control and I never damage the vinyl as far as the surface details. So what I do is I just take it over to my kitchen sink and I run an area that needs to be softened for me to move, realign the parts. So in this case, it was basically above the knee. I ran underneath hot water, the entire area under really super hot water. And once it got hot and I could feel the vinyl starting to soften up, then I basically just pulled his legs apart. And I probably pulled his legs apart probably a good inch and a half in order to get him to stand flat on his feet again. And now, as you can see here, he stands just fine. We're back and we got a little bit more work done to Freddy. We've got the center cut out so we can pour our plaster down in there now. I left all this on because I need a gluing surface for the sweater. So we've got this cleaned up a little bit. I've removed some, kind of beveled the edges because it was interfering with the sweater. The sweater, I have cut off the excess from the casting process. I've got the armhole opened up, but the main thing I wanted to do first was to get the fit between the sweater and the pants, and I think it's pretty good. I got it pretty close. I had to remove, like I said, I had to bevel this because it was hitting the inside of the sweater, so I beveled it. We've got all this cleaned up, and I had to remove bevel a little bit of this inside edge. Might have to do just a little bit more. I had to remove some off of the pants. It was hitting the pants right here, leaving me a huge gap in the front. It wouldn't let the sweater sit all the way down. So I had to remove some of the material here from the pants. And now I think it fits. I think it fits pretty good. Now the next step was to cut this out for the arm. Here's his arm. You don't want to cut this, you want to cut this. The excess resin, or vinyl. And so we got that cut out using hot water and our X-Acto blade. So we got that good. Now the head, I did it differently. The instructions say to leave the vinyl that was filled in here, to leave it. And then you're supposed to cut out all this vinyl from the head. Then this head just sits on top of this platform. Well, I don't like that. I guess if it was mine and just going straight to the shelf, that would be okay. But since this guy is taking a trip and it's going to be handled and carried and what have you, I want to make sure that I have a good bond between the head and the sweater. So I did it the opposite. Instead of leaving this on, I cut it out. Instead of cutting this off, I left it on. Now what I did do was, with my drum sander or my Dremel, is thin it down so it would fit in this hole. Because by doing it this way, I have this whole area around the bottom of his neck to glue to the sides of this. So this gives me a really large surface area. And with a thick bead of Gorilla Super Glue, that head's not going to go anywhere. Plus, by leaving casting extra on, it gives me a way to hold the head while I paint it. So this way I think is much better. Alright, we're back and we've done a little bit more work, and this will probably be it for today. But we got the head fitting the sweater perfect. As you saw in the last segment, I sanded this area here to get it fitting pretty close to inside the neck of the sweater. And to get it to fit perfect, what I did was to take the head and take his sweater and run both underneath hot water and soften the vinyl up. Once the vinyl started to soften up, then I reinserted the head again, and with the vinyl being soft on both pieces, what it did is it helped each piece conform to one another, and left the head in there. And then once the vinyl cooled off and hardened back up, then I was left with a perfectly fitting head that I'm not going to have to use any filler on at all. So that's how we did the head, and it fits excellent. So that's another step we have done. Then I went to his hat. Now we've cut the excess vinyl off, and we took my drum sander on my Dremel and put it on its slowest speed, and kind of beveled and rounded the edge here on the inside of the hat. I didn't want a sharp edge, because with the sharp edge, every time you go to put the hat on and off, you're going to run the risk of scratching the paint, and I didn't want that to happen. So hopefully, and I'm hoping this is going to work, that by rounding these edges off, by beveling the edges, you know, they're not going to be really sharp and scratch at the paint every time you take the hat on and off. I think I got it pretty smooth. I might go back with some 180 sandpaper and go a little bit more around this, bevel this a little bit more. The Dremel makes quick work of it though, but I might soften it up just a little bit more. But other than that, the hat fits pretty good. We can get it ready for paint. We're not going to glue it on because it's meant to be taken off so you can see his head. So we're just going to leave it loose and go from there and get it painted up. So the only thing we got left to do now is the hands. We need to figure out the hands. Alright guys, I think that is it.